I just was looking at the title, episode 27 of season 2. Just proof that two really old men could talk about fucking anything.
Huh?
Why is the sky above me? What's going to be underneath my feet? We're locked easier.
Welcome to episode 27 of season 2 of Lawfully Chaotic. Tonight, we're going to talk about the concept of paid DMs, something
that's really kind of evolved as well. Paid GMs. I think
GMs, yes.
Successfully combine the two.
Yeah, I need to start. That's going to be a tough one to break. That tough habit is DM to GM. But yes, the concept of paid GMs or game masters. It is a somewhat new concept that started, I would say, with about the advent of COVID when we started going remote. And there is oftentimes a little bit of, what do you call it? Oh boy, tonight's going to be tough. I'm like, I've been
brain fried, baby.
Brain fried. A little bit of argument as to whether or not you should pay your DM. So we're going to talk about that.
Or DM.
Or DM, GM. So hopefully in chat, if you've got any opinions on the matter, shout them out. Not that you don't in chat. You always add an element to the show that keeps things interesting. But let's have a discussion tonight. Before we get started, I have no new announcements. Jason, how about you?
Actually, I got a handful of announcements that are on my mind. All
right, I'm gonna go make a sandwich till you get done.
Wrapping up. So right now I run 9 pay-to-play tables, but with the recent movement over to the new website, when my tables take a day off, like a planned day off, it's made it easier for me to post one-shots now. So, I could still work, still stay busy. So I'm back to writing a lot of one-shot content again. I've got 2-year campaigns wrapping up, one on Monday, one on Sunday. It's sad to see them go, but I think 2 years is the max that a campaign should really go. Although the one that 3 Miles Down is in is actually beyond. No, that's my arthritis. But thank you for reminding me about my pain. We're this Sunday we're taking a little break and playing a little one shot this Sunday, a little level 21 shot with the group. And I got 2 new tables are going to open up. I'm halfway through reading the Walking Dead rules. So I'm thinking of opening up a Walking Dead table, and then my Thieves Journey table, which will be the homage to Neverwinter. $20 per critical hit. I'm doing a lot more and getting ready and been helping with the new website, which has been really nice. And we're hoping the new website will go public hopefully by the end of this fall. It's private to the pre-existing host and players, but it's getting there.
Now, for those that don't know, the website that you are referring to is the RPG Club.
The RPGclub.net currently has a coming soon placard on it for when you visit it. We have a private website that we're using to beta the website and to gradually roll our pre-existing groups and hosts and players into it to get off Meetup, because Meetup is completely garbage. And they can only blame themselves for that. Mm-hmm. And that's been the main focus. And I'm hoping either by the end of fall or beginning of winter, it'll be at a point that we're happy with it, and then we'll roll it out to the public.
Awesome. Good to hear. All right, cool. Well, let's jump in. Paid DMs or GMs, yay or nay? I vote yay. Jason, yay or nay?
Definitely yay. Show's over. Bye, everybody.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Yeah. So I think most people, well, probably everybody rant over. Yeah. So Colin is like Colin is one of in well, actually, it is one of my two paid games that I run. I currently only run two because
Okay,
I could fit in my schedule.
makes
Um,
sense.
and also, I don't have a dedicated studio set up. I may try to remedy that
Yeah.
next year with a studio space that I could rent in the neighborhood here. But I got to kick my family out of the living room every time I do it and sequester them upstairs to the bedrooms. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm somewhat limited as to how many games I can run. Colin, other Dan Tana there in chat, is one of my original players of my Wednesday night game, and that we've been going on. How long, Colin? How long have we been playing? 2 years, at least 2 years, probably more. Hello. 2-ish years now. Yeah. So yeah, so a lot of what I say tonight may not apply to you, Colin. I'm just throwing that caveat out there because you're kind of grandfathered in. You guys are kind of grandfathered in. But anyway, yeah. So there seems to be a fair enough amount of pushback to the concept of a paid DM that it bears discussion. I think for the most part, people are accepting of it. Especially, um, one of the big hurdles to playing is always finding a game.
Right.
Finding a game generally means finding somebody to run it for you. So paid DMs or GMs solve that problem, which is the biggest hurdle towards playing the game a lot of times.
Right.
Now, people who have not necessarily, I'm going to go out on a limb and say people that have not necessarily had an exceptionally difficult time finding games may be the ones that are more vociferous towards why should I pay a DM when I've been
Yep.
playing for 30 years or 20 years with my buddies and John, runs the games for us. So
Right. Right.
it's
It
kind of
makes sense too.
the crux of it, the way I see it. Obviously, you and I, it goes without saying, are very much for it. But there's a lot of detail that bears discussion beyond just paying somebody to run the game.
Yeah.
And that's what we are going to talk about tonight.
Well, and I think so. I've quoted this a couple times before.
So Paradox, what do you mean by that? Most games you run aren't loved in the
He's talking about the more unique niche games, like the rarely.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see
like a
what
lot
you're
of the more kind of like daggers in the dagger in the dark.
saying. Yeah.
Games
Obviously,
like that. Yeah. Which is unfortunate because I've had a lot of success with my pay to play Candela Obscura game. We've played 7 sessions.
To be fair, that's got the backing of a Critical Role product, so that's no surprise to me.
Yeah. I mean, I've been reading The Old God of Appalachia, which is an amazing little alternate universe game about Civil War time period, but not necessarily has to be set in American Civil War time period. You can time elastic all you want and world elastic all you want, but the focus is on the lore and the superstitions and the kind of like things that drove a lot of that superstition about that time period. It's got a kind of Cthulhu vibe to it.
Oh yeah.
No, it's yeah.
And that's that's a little bit of a separate topic, but
and we will have a separate show on burnout, dealing with burnout. And I honestly can say I can clearly state that with the data that I've gathered over the past 5 years, playing as much as I play, I've never suffered from burnout. and I equate it to the pay to play community that's built around my profession. Um, they are just so inspiring, and they're just so good at playing the game, that when I show up to run those games, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of concerns and angst. And I have the occasional bartender moment with players, where I have to talk to them off to the side or do things in such a way to prescribe and manage some challenges. But fundamentally, as a pay to play GM, I am a professional. For the most part, I've become a professional entertainer. It just so happens that the entertainment fabric that I present with is role-playing games and tabletop role-playing games. So like any professional entertainer, you're expected to behave such. You're expected to provide good artwork, good immersion, music, easy remote play, or if they're live, you can play live. So there's always this idea that to pay to play GM, you're crazy. All that GM's gonna do is just sit at a table behind the screen and just treat you like shit all night. You can pay me $5 and I'll do that, for you. And it's just like, and I would also say that this is always a hard one for me to have to say, but my pay to play players are the best players. They just are. They're invested. They take excellent notes. They feel very affirming in their RP, and they have a lot of fun with it. They make lifelong friends in the game, and it's just they're my muse, and they they're whereas my Monday and Tuesday games with my friends and my wife and stuff like that, most of them do pretty well, but there's times I'm like, no wonder I don't like doing this for free anymore. Yeah, it's just so easy to see the differences in the player types.
So let me ask you, this is going to be a tough hour to fill because you and I see totally eye to eye on this subject.
Well, but
so there's nothing really to argue against.
And then there's the hard truth of how hard this really is.
It is. So
we'll
Paradox says 4+ hours in prep time for a game. It's off-screen prep. I mean, so the question is, a lot of people like, well, why should I pay you to run a game? Okay, right. Well, you can't find somebody, which is why you're even considering paying me to play.
Yep. We call that supply and demand.
Right. B, there is, if you have never GM'd a game, there is a lot of prep that goes into it. And it's a big time commitment. Now, yes, it is certainly entertainment for us too, but there is a lot of prep that goes into it. 3, you are a good paid DM, as you said, should be an entertainer. I mean, I've invested a lot of money in Dwarven Forge. I've probably bought a couple $1,000s worth of Dwarven Forge terrain. I've got Warlock tiles from WizKids terrain. I'm constantly just buying maps and table scatter and stuff like that. Because I realize that I have to up my game if somebody's paying, right? And like you said, I have to be an entertainer. I get to do all my accents and characters, which I fucking love, and people
love doing the voices, because you can do all the fucking voices and have lots of fun with it.
I once had these 3 dwarves that were for some reason they had an Australian accent, but they were brothers, right? They're like twins.
What about if you're from New Zealand, Kiwis?
Yeah, right. And so the first guy was on one end of the bridge. He was the toll taker at one end, and then his twin brother was at the other, and then the innkeeper was their third twin brother. So it was pretty funny. But what was this? Prep? No, it was Stranger Things. I'm in a paid and non-paid game. I love them both, but they both have different vibes. Yeah. When I used to DM for cash, I ran cheap games with a tip jar if they wanted to add extra. not a constant income model. Some people are rubbish tippers. Yeah, you know what? If your mind is set on, I'm going to make a little bit of money doing this, don't rely on tips. You're going to get disappointed, and that will show in your game.
And it was the only learning curve I had in doing this was the fact that I had to remind myself that what I did had value, and it's okay to charge for that value. It's okay to charge for that value. And that was the hardest learning curve I had. Which animal voice did you do?
Oh my God, there's been a bunch. There's been ravens and rats, and I can't even
So
remember.
I borrowed the Wilbur voice or the Mr. Ed voice when I do horses.
No, sure.
I love it. I love it. It's so much fun. And I did it for my Wednesday night game where August wanted to talk to one of her horses. I was like, well, hello, August. What are we doing today? And he was just like, why is my horse talking to me?
Or when somebody has to talk to plants. I mean, how do you
plants are always fun.
How do you do a voice for a plant, right?
Well, for flowers, they're prissy.
Yeah.
Right? Flowers are always prissy.
Yeah.
I definitely like using Mercer's semi voice for Henry.
Henry Crabgrass.
Yeah, Henry Crabgrass.
That cracked me up.
So whenever I'm a small plant, I just not very smart when I talk, and I talk small. But if I'm like a big oak tree, it's like I go with Treebeard.
Sure.
Going uphill always feels harder. Somehow going south feels faster.
And that's probably one of the biggest aspects of, well, I would say beyond the concept of, if I don't pay somebody, I'm not going to play because I can't find anybody to run a game. That's the biggest aspect.
This is my biggest note-taking premise.
Oh my God, dude.
I have to take notes around that.
I know.
I have to.
I thought that guy was Australian. Why is he German?
Oh, fuck yeah. Well, he was just fucking with you. He's actually from Brooklyn.
Yeah, right? So yeah, I mean, it is the entertainment value and the presentation, and the hope is that it is a step above. And that's not to say that people who don't get paid to run games do a shitty job.
Excellent games, yeah, absolutely,
not at all. But again, if you want something,
but they'd be giving it away for free.
Yeah, but if you want something steady, if you want something that is going to be scheduled, I say, as I'll admit, we've been horrible on our Wednesday night, but it's
Wednesday
I would say
night
some of the time is
hardest.
Some of the time it's me. Life happens and you get busy, but I've got a few players. So Colin is one of my players who is always there, and there's two others who are always there, will always play. We had 6 players, then we went down to 5 because life happened for him, and I don't blame anybody, but he just kind of faded away. Then we were down to 5, and then one of the 5 is rarely ever able to play. So now we're down to 4. So if one person can't play, it's like, we got to push it again. And we've been doing that a lot, especially compounded with the summer.
Yeah.
So I will say to Colin, who is in the chat, that, that caveat aside of my Wednesday night game, again, if you're looking for something that is...
Just muted yourself. I don't know how you did it, but you just muted yourself. There, I unmuted you.
Thank you. There you go.
But anyway, again, if you want a scheduled game that you know is going to happen, and you know is going to be consistent, and you know is going to be, have some momentum to it.
Your microphone's all messed up. What happened?
Can you not hear me now?
Now I can hear you when you do that. Before it sounded like you were deep in a cave.
How about now?
There you go.
Okay.
I think when you're doing your lean back rant, it does that echo bell.
I'll just do the Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, I know. He broke his mic again. He's always breaking that fucking microphone.
It's a good thing I paid $300 for it, huh?
Yeah, I paid $50 for mine.
Fuck you.
Wait, no, actually, no, I didn't pay for mine. It was given to me by my sound guy. So I'm
Oh,
good.
well.
Oh, you don't have a sound guy? I'm sorry.
Players are paying for. I don't have a sound guy. I don't have a place for a fucking sound guy to sit. I told you that already, dick.
and so in the old days when we met for D&D,
Yeah.
soda, beer, food, chips, snacks all showed up. So the host, the GM, never had to worry about, the food and the drinks. People brought it, and it made for a, freaking amazing night of an 8-hour session where you didn't have to worry about food and drink, and, and you played that game all night long. And I think to your earlier point, I think what really spurred, there were two things. I think Critical Role showed that there's a market for professional GMs. I think I did a great job of laying the groundwork for that. The second thing was remote play really blossomed during the COVID years.
Yeah.
People had a little extra money in their pocket. They couldn't go to game.
Mm-hmm.
They discovered these platforms where you could play online. Now, playing online is the hardest way to play D&D. It is by far the hardest way to play, for sure.
I don't even provide coffee.
So, like before COVID, I was going to 4 different games I was hosting for free. I was going to breweries and other things, like really kind of cutting my teeth on the practice of getting unknown people in front of each other and just really practicing that in person. I just took those skill sets when we went into shutdown. I said, you know what? I got to keep these other games going. So I moved them onto remote. And as I perfected my process in remote, I was like, I think I can do this for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just, started building my toolbox.
So my group, me, Gary, Shunjin, Ugrun, Twisted, we figured out how to do that a year before COVID. Because we had a couple, because we did always play in person, and we had a couple people move away, and we were like, well, why don't we frickin' try doing this remote? So we had it all set up before that. So when COVID happened, I was like, holy shit, I already
Keep
know
going.
how to do this.
Yeah. Makes sense. But there are operational costs, to your previous point about having a place to do your professional games. Number one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have to set up and take down every time I do it because I can't leave that shit up all week. I mean, it's really a pain in the ass, and that is one reason beyond just having a studio space for all my art stuff, which I desperately need. To be able to have a setup like you where I could just come in, flip everything on, and go, that would facilitate me running more games.
Right.
Kind of, that's, this is a little off tangent from the paid aspect, but not really, because it goes back to what you said, where, it's not only that you're also either subsidizing a location, such as you have a studio set up for this, or it's the effort of setting it all up, breaking it all down, and and that stuff. Not to mention the fact that it took me a year and a half. Even though I knew how to do it, once I started doing it paid, it took me a year and a half to really dial in. Okay, what mics am I using? What camera? How am I setting this up? What's the best way to mount the camera on the table, and just all that shit. So there's a lot that goes into it, boiled down all the way to just the admin of scheduling and and correspondence and shit. So
and I think one of the things that helps a great deal is that once you decide you don't want to go back to your old professional career, what can you utilize from your previous career to help you be a professional GM, right? And I think that's where I have a significant advantage over most people kind of getting into the pay-to-play GM space. So Studio 1.0 maybe cost me a few $100s to build. And then it was maybe $500 worth of microphones and cameras. And so for about $1,000, I could quickly prop up a much smaller version of the studio I was in now. Like the one that I'm in now is huge compared to my old one. I was doing well enough at that. Callista's like, okay, let's build you a proper studio. And, and now I've got a 350 square foot studio. I would say overall, my cost to build out what I'm playing in, including all of my figures and everything, a proper PC rig, mixers, 5 cameras, the microphone boom setup, the studio lighting. I mean, you're probably looking at about 10 grand at the end of the day.
It's not a small investment.
Right. So no matter what, I'm always earning back what I paid to get to this point. Right. And I'm not making a lot of money. I'm making enough money to live off of because I don't have a lot of bills.
Okay. So I'm glad you brought that up. Another question is, what should a DM get paid?
Yeah, that's a hard one, right? Because
it is.
First of all, are they established? Do they have history being a pay-to-play GM? What's their gaming background? What are their professional credentials? What have they been doing before they became a pro GM? Like, what are all these things that, one of the things I've been able to compare this to in a successful way, because it makes sense to everybody, is that if you're willing to have 3 entertainment subscriptions per month or pay $5 for a coffee, you value things already. So you take that same level of value that you've already established for yourself as a player and transpose it onto your expectations of a professional GM. And quality, continuity, and professionalism.
Yes. And I would add to that, and this goes along with the quality, is how immersive is it, in terms of acting and improv, in terms of background music that you might use, in terms of terrain, in terms of, camera angles, lighting. It could be a million things.
Right.
I mean, I look at Malcolm Trotter, Gentleman Game Masters stuff. His stuff, he's comes from a really cinematic background, and all of his games that he runs are very influenced by cinema, because he loves that, and he does a fantastic job. Your stuff, I must say, if I haven't told you this, I apologize, but I must say, over the past 4 months, the shots that you post of your physical setups, whether those are done remotely or in person, are fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
The way I value it, or equate a value to it, is if you're going to go out for an evening to a bar or a restaurant, you're going to spend easily $50 to $100.
Yep.
Okay.
And you're going to spend 2 to 3 hours.
Okay. Let's say you go to a dive bar and you fucking drink Miller Lights all night. Okay. You're still spending $30. So you're spending anywhere for a night of entertainment. Let's say a movie for 2 people costs you $50, right?
Right.
So you're spending anywhere from $30 to $100,
depending on how you choose that 3-hour night to be entertained.
Exactly. So, theoretically, for somebody at your level, I'm not going to use myself as an example because that would be douchey. For somebody at your level, I, as a player, would expect to pay at the very least $20 for a session, and more likely, probably, I would say $30 to $40 is not out of the question, given the how the bar has been raised over these past couple of years with paid GMs running games. I don't think that's crazy. Now, if somebody is playing every week, that adds up. But again, if you go out every Friday night,
week,
you're spending twice that. So, you have people that not only argue. I mean, some people are like, "Well, I'm against paid DMs." The whole, see, $10. That's not. I mean, I hate to sound like an ass. It's not worth my time. I could be doing way more creative stuff, or just getting my day-to-day work done. For that. I mean, again, this is just me. My time now for doing this, I mean, it's still D&D and I still love it. So it's not like, oh, you got to pay me $60 or it's not worth my time. No, I don't have delusions that, that the hourly rate is the same as my professional career hourly rate. Obviously not. But I'm in my head at about the $20 level minimum. And if I really set up a game like my homebrew that I've been talking about, my expectation for that, if and when I ever fucking do it, is that is going to be very immersive and very high level in terms of terrain and whatnot. Okay, so I would expect $30 to $40 a seat for that. Now, again, if somebody is paying every week, sure, you could argue that adds up. So then, you know what? Fine, you do a monthly or you do a number of seats. There's ways around that. But I think for the people that are against paid DMs, you're never going to convince them otherwise. But I do think that there is also a discussion on how much. Okay, somebody might be willing to pay 10 or 15 bucks, but once you tell them it's 30, they're like, well, fuck you. Now all of a sudden I'm against paid DMs, you know? I mean, again, it you know, Jason, I'll let you.
Yeah,
you.
I'll say, what do you guys think should be provided? You know, based on cost, right? 10, 15, 20, 30. The problem with provisional costs,
the prophecy, the prophecy. In fact, I should probably name the campaign "The Prophecy Revealed."
Yeah, the Mirror Staff. That's always a fun one to think about. So my games that got released recently get $30 a seat. My grandfathered games, back when I said I was going to keep my prices frozen at 25 a seat, have stayed at 25 a seat. But with each new game that gets opened, it's at 30 a seat. Probably in another year, they'll be at 35 a seat. And I think 35 is where I'd like to be. But I have some unique demands of myself. The problem with the $10 game is that I'm going to pack it with people to make money. So if I'm only making $10 a seat, I'm going to max it out to 7 players. Well, that's just going to not be the best experience for newer players. It's a very
I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I wouldn't do that because it would detract from the game.
But that's more to the question about the price point. Like, what do you get based on what people are willing to pay?
Well, and the reason I wanted to let you field this, and I'm going to take it back now, just for a second.
Well, hold on. Let me finish my
point. It's because what you said about their level of quality and their resume.
Right. But your resume is always on performance. Like you're never not performing when you become a professional GM. You're providing continuity. And what does a continuity statement mean when it comes to value of money? Yeah, I mean, the continuity is that you're guaranteed a game every week as long as everyone shows up, right? And people keep showing up. So it's like, yeah, I'm at max 5 people per table.
Max for me online is 6. I prefer 5. Max in person is 7, but 6. But I prefer 6 or less.
I'm always at 5. I recently allowed 6 on the studio table.
Yeah.
My remote games are about quality, continuity, and entertainment. Now, that's as a professional GM, that's when you begin to lose a little bit of the true fun nature of the game as a GM. And you realize you come to terms with the idea that you're now a professional. So you have to make certain sacrifices to realize that if you're going to do this for a living, there's certain things you've got to do, right, to meet those standards of quality, continuity, and expectation. There's just certain things you have to do. They don't have to be earth-shattering things. They don't have to be...
but the flip side of that is that whereas you do sacrifice little bits here and there, I mean, me personally, I've had to up my game, no pun intended. To make it worthwhile for the people that are paying me. And I've learned a lot of things, about how to be a better DM also through doing that, and explored new ways to present at the table and whatnot. So whereas I don't disagree, whereas like some of the fun gets milked out a little bit because you are a professional.
Yeah.
I think also that, hold on.
Somebody spamming you? What happened?
It can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good, because I can't hear you because my AirPods shanghaied my connection here. I don't know how to shut them off. Hold on.
On that note, I'll take everything back. So for me, it'll never be more than 5 players. So like to the point of the price point of the game, you know, it's you could really gouge people by charging 30 a head and then always having a table of 7 people. But I'm always going to prefer quality over quantity because it's more fun for me when it's quality. And I know the experience that's going to be had by those at the either at the table or on the remote play, it's going to be more fun for them because it's going to have more quality in it as well.
So I have a rule. Like I have to have at least 4 people at the table to run a game. Okay. But I will not stack the table just to offset low seat cost or whatever. I won't play 7 players on a remote game.
So I like this question. So what is it you think you'd need to see/be provided to pay over 50, 100, or is that too ridiculous to even consider? I've got secret things in my back pocket that I've not presented to my tables yet that if I wanted to truly elevate myself to that, I think a paid session in my professional studio, like in the physical studio, easily qualitatively will get $50 a seat minimum.
So the type of things, and I would agree. I think in person, it's interesting because theoretically there's more work that goes into running a remote game. But I think the in-person allows for more opportunity to really up the game. You could decorate the room. You could have ambiance like that. I think
you could turn on the lightning strobe when you're in a storm.
The lights.
You could have the immersion music in the room, like filling the space up with crickets and rain and
exactly.
You know, and I think elevating the live game with people is the better opportunity for the $50 a seat, which is something I am going to attempt to do. My goal, my fun goal for me is to find a local group of people who are well-to-do, but never get a chance to play. Like they never get a chance to play. And they're local to me. I would love to find that group and say, hey, you know, if you're willing, you know, $50 a seat in a professional environment. I might up it to 3.5 hours of playtime, you know.
Scare the shit out of everybody. Hey, your creepy cousin. I also think that there's more value to the harder to find resource games versus D&D, which is resource rich. Well, sure. That's just more. It's just more legwork and more prep
Which to
time.
Paradox's point, which means no one's running Candela games right now. Barely anybody.
You could charge $1,000 a head for those games.
I mean, exactly. Because if you're a really good GM within those niche games like Walking Dead, Aliens, Daggers in the Dark, Daggerheart that's coming out.
Could you imagine playing Aliens with like a smoke machine and one of those like flashing emergency lights and shit?
You'd have 5 people on the ground having seizures. So no, I don't know if I'd do that.
I would.
But to a certain degree, you're right, because you have a lot more performative options with a physical live game. A remote game, though, offers the one thing that a lot of people struggle with physical games: convenience. Remote games are super convenient to be in, and a lot of people who have been raised in our consumer environment already know 9 times out of 10 you're paying for convenience across the board for everything. The convenient coffee, the convenient meal, the convenient clothing, the convenient, they're all primarily based off of convenience. Yeah. So the remote model really works for that, and I think that's why it's done as good as it has. I'll have to look. I don't know
how long. I don't know who Matt Dawkins is either. How long are those one shots? Is it a standard like 3-hour session? That's another thing. Okay.
How long should a session be? Right.
Right. I think 3 hours is kind of the sweet spot, and then that's what most people do. I did one of our chat members, he's not on tonight, but Andrew Davenport, Dorito Robinson, or Dorito, whatever. Dorito, I don't remember. I don't remember his exact screen name because I always look at people's screen names and I misread them the first time, and then from there on out, that's what they
Matt
are to me.
Dawkins is the Gentleman Gamer. That's his real name.
The Gentleman Gamer.
Yeah.
I've
been following him on Instagram.
Not Gentleman Game Master. That's Malcolm.
That's Malcolm. No, Matthew Dawkins is known
Gentleman
as
Gamer.
The Gentleman Gamer.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What was I fucking saying? Oh, time. So anyway, I ran a bachelor party for Andrew for his brother, and we slated like 5-hour session, and it went to 8, which is fine because we were all having a freaking blast, and I wasn't going to cut it short. So it was an 8-hour session, and they paid me very handsomely. It was very generous of them, plus a tip on top of it. Extremely generous. And they had a fantastic time. They said it blew away their expectations. I brought over like 4 fucking Craftsman or Milwaukee like toolboxes full of terrain and shit and everything like that. Had everything set up. So again, it comes down to, it comes down to the overall package that you provided.
It was an 8-hour birthday party or an 8-hour session. Like if I'm going to run an 8-hour session, that session is going to cost everybody $30 an hour. So if you have 5 players, for a special 8-hour session, because the amount of work that's going to have to go into that, I have a totally different price point, and it's going to be a lot higher.
Well, and I do too. But I don't break it down per seat per hour. I basically just do a bulk, like a package cost, like how long do you want? How many people? As long as it's not like over 8 people, that it gets unwieldy, it doesn't matter to me if it's 4 or 8. So an event like that, like a longer one shot, yes, it will be a package cost. Here's what I want to make for this night. But yeah, for for just an ongoing game per seat, I'm kind of in my head, were I to start a new campaign would probably be around the $30 a seat mark.
More importantly, the time factor, right?
So the time,
I think remote play one shots, I'm good at 3 hours.
Yeah.
Remote play campaigns, 3 hours. You play for an hour and a half, take a 5-minute break, play for another hour and a half.
Yep.
To me, that's value. You're going to get the most value out of that time frame.
Yeah.
Players start getting a little tired after 4 hours. Like you could see it, begin to manifest on their faces and especially in remote play. I think in live play,
I think you've got an extra
go longer.
Hour.
Yeah. Like you could probably play for 2 hours, take a 20-minute break, play for 2 hours, take another 30-minute break, and have this fun day dedicated to finishing a campaign in a single day. Like like you just take a short little campaign that could be done in 8 hours. And that way, by the time everyone's done, they don't feel like they're left hoping for something that's not going to finish. They ran a campaign. It was a low-level, short campaign, and they got through, beginning, middle to end, and they had that feeling of completion. And that feeling is, once again, the continuity model of entertainment. I want to feel like I've been entertained, and I want to feel good about the time I just spent playing something that maybe I didn't have any experience playing before.
Yeah.
So 3 hours. That's for remote play. 3 hours is it for me. Anything more than that, you lose.
Same.
You lose the energy factor.
I do too. I do too. I can play in person for 8, 10, 12 hours, if it's a good game. In fact, tomorrow night, I'm playing in Gary's game tomorrow night.
Yeah.
That one is remote, but we've known each other all for 40 years, right? So we'll start at like 6:30 my time. We'll play till 11:30 or midnight, Would I do that in a paid game? Fuck no.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think we need to now talk about the work, right? And I have some advantages, both in my professional career. I also have a lot of discipline when it comes to how much I think I need to put into the work itself. I have a lot of tools I use, and those tools cost me money. So I would say my operational budget per month is probably around $300 a month is my operational budget. I do side gigs of work for other things, whether it's contract work or private D&D work, or I'm going to start. I've been training professional DMs. I've been working with professional GMs and training them to build their toolboxes and giving them insights and ideas on approaches and stuff like that. So for me, there's the operational cost. And then there's the cost of what you have to create to keep these games and things running. My formula works for me, and that's why my maximum number of games I can run pay to play per week is 15. That would be my maximum. That's because the formula works for me. It's not going to work for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know how you fucking do that.
So
right now, that's
right now I run. Right now I run 9 professional games.
Yeah.
And then I run 2 of my branded games on Monday and Tuesday night. So I could, that's 11. I could bump it up 4 more, and be fine, because I found a formula that works, and it took a lot of failing to find that formula. I know. Thanks, Trent.
I do too. I don't know how that you fucking do.
There is that inner passion of my work ethic that it never feels like work for me. Like nothing I do feels like work. When I used to be in the corporate sector, everything felt like work.
Yeah.
Everything felt miserable. What I do now professionally as a pay-to-play GM, I love this work so much that I don't even realize how my formula has really kept me from having to worry about burnout and all that other activity.
Well,
right?
I mean, it's the age-old axiom of if you find something you love to do, it'll never be work.
Yeah, and I'm finally at that point. Took me 40,
right,
37 years since I was 15 to discover I could do that. But it took a while. But
Same.
I think my advice to anybody thinking about being a professional GM is start off by feeling okay to ask your friends to pitch in on your cost. You know what I mean? If you're meeting once a week and no one's pitching in and they're just showing up to play, it's okay to say, hey, can you guys bring something? And if you can't, can you give me $10 and I'll make sure something's here for you? Because then you start your value conversations and you practice that conversation with people. You practice the conversation of value. And then you begin to realize all the work, everything that you do has value. If they're showing up to your game every week for free, there's no reason why they shouldn't be comfortable paying you $20 to show up.
Yeah.
They really shouldn't feel uncomfortable at all. And that was my longest learning curve. My longest learning curve was making it okay with me, myself, that it's okay to charge for your value. Because I'm technically now a creator, but I create in a different way. And I think once you get over that valuation hurdle, the next hurdle is, well, how do I do this? What are the tools I use? What are the toolboxes? And what, if it's remote, how do I do this? If it's live, how do I do this? Right. So there is that operational demeanor that you have to learn to do the operational stuff. So your valuation, your operation, and then finally your creativity.
Yeah.
Your creativity is your entertainment, your immersion. Are you homebrew? Are you following a module? Those 3 things are the 3 things you have to practice and organize and learn and keep doing better and better and better at. And if you can do all 3 of those things successfully, then you're a professional GM. You're there. They're never going to hand out a diploma to people like me, right? it's not like I'm going to go to a school and it's like, oh, congratulations, you're now a professional GM.
Here's your
Go
DM's
out
license.
there, it's like here's your GM license, your GM
So,
license.
My biggest hurdle, as I've said, is operational.
Correct.
Like if I had a basement or a studio where I had all of my minis set up and my terrain set up in default layouts and whatnot, and I could go to the shelves and pull all that shit, and all the cameras were all set up. I mean, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
That is my biggest hurdle. The creativity thing that you bring up, I think that is that is what defines how much you can charge per hour. And when you say,
I think all three help, like your personal valuation, your operational, and then your creativity. I think all three of those combined really help you establish that.
Yeah, but I lump in the performance and the entertainment factor to the creativity.
Okay.
So, to answer Colin's question from way back when, what do you get for a $10 game, a $15 game, or a $25 game, 30 game? I mean, somebody that is able to run the game.
I was just about to put that up. So true.
Somebody who is able to run the game, but doesn't provide that rich, immersive, give and take, experience, probably is going to have a hard time keeping $30 seats filled, right? Somebody who can do that, because let's face it, all the other stuff can be learned, but there's an aspect of talent to that. Okay. I mean, look at Matt Mercer, right?
Yeah.
People would pay Matt Mercer $500 fucking to play at his table. All right.
I know that is $1,000 idea.
$1,000. Oh, I thought that was $1 idea. I misread the comma. So I think the creativity factor, that is where it crosses the line from skill to talent.
Yeah. And
obviously a more talented GM or storyteller can charge more.
Yeah, not agree.
Provides more value.
Yeah.
Seriously though, you can audit GM. Yeah, I mean that's true too. Yes. I was going to go off on a tangent, but it was a conversation that I had a while ago with a colleague, and I don't want to go there right now, but yes.
Rant cam.
No, it's not a rant cam. It's not a rant cam. It was the seeds of a really good idea. And Jason, I think you know what it is, and I'm sure we'll spend a few minutes talking about it after the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, you should be able to. I mean, look at Uber, right? Hey, this guy's a 5-star guy. Okay, I know if I get in the car, he's not going to murder me.
Well, and that's become a central focus on the new website, which is
tangent, not a rant.
One of the things in our second iteration of the website is a very well-crafted review section. And if you have a well-crafted review section,
okay. Well, now that you spilled the beans, now I can talk to it. Yes, Adam and I spoke ages ago, well before I met you, about baking that into the website, which is a review setup, just like Uber, both for GMs and for players. Because let's face it, if you're a shitty player, nobody's going to want you at the table if you fucking ruin it for everybody else.
It's very true. Yeah.
So, so 3 miles to your point, yes, that should absolutely be baked into to RPG Club, and specifically to anybody that caters to setting up something like that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, the player scores are for GMs, but they're also, if you're part of an ongoing community, like let's just use the RPG Club as an example, and you're a problem player, well, guess what? Adam's going to have to deal with you over and over from an administrative standpoint. So he's not going to fucking want to deal with that.
And on the flip side of that, I would love for GMs to get Trin in their game, or to get 3 miles in their game. Like, I would love to be able to have the ability to write a review to an excellent player,
Absolutely.
because it's going to be a lot easier for them to find a good GM as well. So I think the kind of the less Yelpian and kind of more casual review policy, I think, you know, I think is a helpful tool for both sides of the coin.
Yelpian, I love that.
Yelp is such a toxic wasteland.
Cowbell equals rant. I'm not going to make any promises as to when, because we all know it's going to be months from now, but I got to learn how to use OBS better so that I could do these on-screen effects and shit. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I kind of wish that more Amazon review than Yelp. Oh my God, did you ever see the Amazon review of those knockoff gummy bears, those Olestra gummy bears?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's probably
my favorite one. My favorite one is, if you're ever so bound that you think you're gonna die, eat one of these gummy bears and you'll shit for a week.
I mean, that review, there was a couple of reviews for that product that were just legendary.
Yeah, the Harborough sugar-free ones.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, there were like memes and TikTok and like all these just tangent receipt-driven reviews that I thought were just freaking phenomenal.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of wish there was, I kind of wish we had a counterpoint, or we didn't agree on this so much, or everybody in chat didn't agree, because it's always more fun to complain and rant, as we all know.
I would say that the number one reason why, well, I hate putting numbers in front of things. One of the major reasons why pay-to-play GMs have gotten the traction they've gotten is the other aspect of this, which is that there's a severe drought of GMs. Like all the marketing is geared towards the players, all the everything geared towards the players, and there's not a lot of marketing geared towards the GM or the host or the DM. You know, it's interesting counterpoint. It sucks.
Fuck you, man.
Let me rant.
Well, and I think that probably, and this is conjecture, but I think that probably somebody who is against paying for a DM feels that, well, a DM is just somebody who's running the game.
Right.
It's just another. It's just a person filling that seat and fulfilling the role of.
And the only reason they're filling that seat is because they're having fun.
Yeah. Right. So why should I pay? And it's also kind of like, why should I pay for something that for 30 years nobody's been paying for?
Yeah. It's kind of like, you know what? 30 years ago, we didn't have the opportunity to go out and find people from all over the world to play. Well, we didn't have the space,
and play wherever you want. And also, we didn't have the terrain and the cameras and the effects and all that shit. Yeah. So you know what? Suck it up.
Well, and to a certain degree, like there's a table in the RPG club that plays out of the UK. So, there's places,
now
when you're in a remote space, you have millions of people that can't find a game.
I would say if you're going to have people playing in a streamed game, I'm not
counting dicks. Why would I count dicks?
What?
It said he said on Counterpart, if you stream the game, you need to provide dick counts. I'm not counting dicks.
I didn't even see that. And I like this, right? Exactly. Yeah, you used to have to go to the gas station to buy your porn. Now you can do it from the comfort of your own home. So, shut the fuck up. No, I kind of feel that if you're streaming a game, that in and of itself denotes that game is going to be at an elevated quality level. Otherwise, why would you stream it?
Which means I would say, I would almost say you're going to pay more.
Exactly. That's where I was going. I would charge $40 for a streamed game, because you damn well know if I'm streaming something, it's not going to be this schlocky endeavor. So
or you're going to know that the confidence level of the GM is so high at that point that your expectations are being met even before you realize you're playing the game. Yeah. So
Well, plus I mean, let's face it. We all who play this game, no matter what anybody admits, the little part of us all want to be Matt Mercer or play at Matt Mercer's table, right? So if it's a streamed game and it's a quality game, I mean, that gives you exposure as a player too, to other players, other GMs. So there's value in that too.
There's intrinsic value in anything that you do if you do it qualitatively, you do it with passion, and you do it with the intent of exposing people to something that you hope they'll be passionate about in their life as well.
Absolutely. And that's a good way to sum it up. The only thing I will add to that is if the discussion is there about having to pay somebody, there is obviously some kind of a need for it.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Get on board with it.
We did another hour.
We did it. It was an hour of nothing but agreement. I don't like that. Let's find something to argue about next time. Fuck this shit.
What are we going to talk about next week?
Wait, hold on. That was where the valid. If Matt Mercer or BLM ran your online game, without any further info, are you paying 50 to 100? Probably more than that. But again, that's where, like I said, that's where your expectations of what you can get go way up, and so should the cost. So,
well, and I think, I'll say this. 3 Miles brings up a good point. I enjoy watching the PCs play.
Yeah.
Right? That's my true enjoyment. I love watching them play. I love using their backstories to tie them in. Sure, they're going to run into the possibility of death, but the reality is I'm a much more stylized GM like Matt Mercer is, in the sense, because I like watching the players play.
Yeah.
I tend to not make the mechanics be overwhelming, right? Or I tend not to make a particular situation overwhelming, but I really want players to have a lot of fun and know that there is risk in an open world, which is why I run everything in open world. However, one of the things I don't like about Brennan as a DM is I feel like he is he's too much of an expositionist. Like he's always got to talk. And when you are threatening players with a very dangerous game, you tend to have to do that a lot, because he's a very dangerous GM. He likes to make the characters really, really suffer the hardship of the worlds that he builds. But that's a style that people like. And once again, in a pay-to-play game, to find really well professionalized styles that you're going to have a great time at, you're going to pay to do that, because you're already setting the value. Yeah. So what are we going to talk about next week?
The moral is that it's here to stay, and if you don't like it, then too bad, suck it up. Or go find your friend John to run your game for you and try scheduling in your basement.
Yeah, there's that.
And good luck with that, because anyway. What should we talk about next week? I don't know. We may actually have to have a meeting tomorrow and figure that out.
Yeah. I know you've got a couple things on the list, but we didn't really... I know we're still trying to get guests and not really having a lot of luck.
It's the end of the summer kind of thing. Everybody's got so much to do right now. Everybody has jobs and they're having kids.
There's no one out there at all that has an hour to spend talking with us. I can't imagine why.
Because they can't get a word in edgewise between the two of us.
I can't hear you over here talking. I don't know what you're saying.
All right. Hold on. Let's look at this last it's got to be from expose from Trin. From my point of view, I don't have a problem at all with someone charging for a seat at their table. If you're not DMing for a friend group, you can simply go, hey, provide me a space for the game or feed me for the work that I'm putting into this game for you. It's essentially a justification for the time and effort you put into the game. Oh, yeah. And again, you're providing entertainment. People should expect to pay for entertainment.
Expect to pay for good entertainment.
Good entertainment.
The greatness of Games Workshop. Oh my God.
I'm gonna have to do that on a week where Jason's out, because I'm gonna spend an entire hour just
ranting.
Yeah. So. All right. Cool. Yeah. So that's it.
That's it. TPK. Oh wait, where can we find you, Brian?
As usual, always RPG&Co on Instagram. I almost said Twitter. God forbid.
Woo.
On
God
Instagram,
forbid.
best place to reach me. DM me, shoot shit, chat, whatever. Also visit playrpgandco.com for cool apparel, digital content, and other products related to the game of D&D and other role-playing games.
I'm just gonna put that out there, Butters.
Please put out there, please buy my product.
You can find me over at my Twitch space. All my links are there. Come join our Discord, have some fun. Other than that, Brian, TPK.
Tell a story.
Play a game.
And be kind.
Good night,
Thanks for
everybody.
joining. Bye.